Familiarity is one of the influential variables that really can predict and assure your online business success. Hello, I'm Dana Scranton, and this video is the first in a series of 9 videos where I'll be discussing the important and influential variables that really play into the engagement and buying decision process. Now, if you're an online entrepreneur, I'm sure that you have encountered content, right? You've written content, you've had content come to you, and you've looked at it and you've made a decision. You've made a decision whether you're going to click on the link, consume the content, take the action, whatever the action may be. What was it that drove you to make a decision to engage? You see, those are the kinds of questions that I'm going to be addressing in these 9 variables. But the first one, familiarity, is very important because it is the starting variable, the lead variable that gets you engaged. So what is familiarity? Well, on the surface, you might think, well, familiarity is when they are familiar with me, they know me. Well, that's true to an extent. But how did they get to know you? Well, therein lies the trick. You see, there are 2 levels of familiarity, and they happen to coincide with 2 gateways to the mind. Now, first of all, let's talk about the 2 different ideas of familiarity. First of all, it's the familiarity where they know you, but there's another kind of familiarity. It's where they are subconsciously aware and cognizant of the meaning, the importance, the influence, and the relevance of the content that you are putting in front of them. So let's say that they don't know you. They've never seen you. They've never read your material. So they can't be familiar with you. But in the subconscious mind, where thousands and thousands of thought processes are going on every millisecond, they are in fact familiar with the concepts, the ideas, the needs, the wants, the desires, the fears. And so when they see content, the subconscious mind sees the message, processes the information, and uploads a thought. Now, the reason that's important to you, the online entrepreneur, is this. We can only process one thought at a time. You may think you're running multiple thoughts at a time in your conscious mind, but you really aren't. You're aware of many things, but you're really thinking one thought at a time and acting on one thought at a time. The subconscious mind is quite different. It's operating thousands of thoughts. It's processing. And when it sees content and information, it uploads a thought to your conscious mind, and that gets the prospect's attention. And that's called relevance. You are now relevant to them in the moment. They see it, they click on your link, they read your content, whatever. So the gateway that you're looking to influence here is the subconscious mind. Now, that's extremely important, and that's why it is the lead variable. When you design your content strategy, your experience strategy, you do so first having characterized the avatar or the market segment you're going after and what the ideal customer is within that segment. You've gone through and you've created a persona or an avatar that has all the characteristics and the traits of that particular ideal customer. And so you're marketing directly to that person because if you find that person, they're the ones most likely to benefit from what you have to offer. And so your impact is maximized and your success is assured. But you got to get to those people first. And how do you get to them? You get to them by becoming familiar with them. And you become that way by hitting the subconscious mind with variables and elements of familiarity. So if in their mind they have fears, they have doubts, they have uncertainties, and in your avatar definition you have identified those as being health related or financial related or emotionally related, then you target your message such that the language you use and the structure that you put forward and the pictures that you create in their minds, either literally or metaphorically, are all targeted at those particular ideas in their mind that will trigger a conscious thought when they see the content. You see, that's the familiarity you're going after, and the importance here is this. If you're trying to become familiar to them and you're relying on being familiar with them before you can get anything from them or engage them, that's kind of like the chicken and the egg phenomenon. Which came first? It's very difficult to hit that one conscious thought that they happen to be looking at any given time, but the probability of striking a chord when you're appealing to the subconscious mind is very high. And that's why we focus on the subconscious gateway with the whole idea of familiarity as the lead variable. Now, there are several steps involved in using familiarity in creating your content strategy. First of all, you got to define the avatar. You got to know who you're going after and what their traits and characteristics are. Next, you've got to develop a content strategy that will have the keywords and the key messages and content that will get their attention in that subconscious gateway. Next, the series, the content series. Now, this is very important. You see, you've got to put forth enough content to create familiarity now at the conscious level, because your whole strategy is to appeal to them, to show them that you have value, that you understand them, that you get them. And so you do that with a series of content. And that content has to be structured such that it's consistent and congruent, meaning that the messages they're seeing are consistent with who they believe you to be and who you are forming to be in their mind. Now, you can take an excursion and you can bring in some interesting surprises along the way, and that's fine. But what you don't want to do is depart from the content strategy that you have developed to appeal to their mind. Now, the reason for that is simple. Every single time that you put content in front of them, you are creating your brand in their mind. So the familiarity that we've been addressing is their subconscious mind, the subconscious familiarity with the concepts and the ideas that you're serving up. But that leads to familiarity with your brand, because the more they see content from you, the more they click on your links, the more they make decisions, which, by the way, is the next thing we're going to talk about, the more they are going to know, like, and trust you. And consequently, you don't want to deviate from your content strategy. Now, in your content strategy, it's very important that you introduce variability, that you put variety into the content strategy. Don't get boring and get into a mono rut where you're constantly talking about the same thing over and over and over again. What you want to do is you want to bring them new, fresh content, but you want to make sure that there's a weave through your content strategy such that there is continuity and congruence. Now, the next thing is create decision habits. Part of what you're doing in your content is having them make decisions. The first decision is to click on your link or your information. The second decision is to engage, to read what you've got. Then you embed other decisions. Those decisions may be to click on the next article in the series, to opt into an infographic, or to opt into some other bit of information that you're providing. Go to a web page. You're creating the environment where making decisions becomes natural. You're embedding the decision habit into their minds. So now they see your content, they see your name, they have become familiar with you, you address their needs, wants, desires. Now they're going to have the habit of engaging with you. Now that habit is critical because ultimately you're going to want them to make a bigger decision, a decision to buy something you have, to join a team, to join your cause, whatever it may be, but that's a bigger decision. But the bigger decision comes about easier when you have the compound effect of smaller decisions. When they are familiar with making decisions in your favor, making the bigger decision will not be so difficult. And finally, step number 6, it is extremely important that you reward decisions. When they make a decision, reward them with a compliment, reward them with a statement, a recognition. Now, here's an interesting fact. You don't always know that they've made the decision that you're talking about, do you? Now, if it's an opt-in, well, maybe you know, but you don't know if they saw your content necessarily. So here is the strategy. Regardless of whether or not they've actually made the decision to do whatever it is that you're asking them to do in your content strategy, affirm to them that they've made the right decision. A couple of reasons for that. First of all, those who made the decision to engage your content, to read your article, to opt into your offer, they're going to feel affirmed. They're going to feel confident when you affirm their decision. You reward their decision by complimenting them and telling them the benefits they're going to receive and so forth. But if they didn't make that decision and you compliment them and you reward them in some way, what are they going to do? They're going to say, what did they miss? chances are they're going to go back and take a look at what it is they were supposed to do. Because look, oftentimes people's bandwidth is limited. They just blow off the last paragraph of your message if that's where you put your decision, which, by the way, just as a tangent, you should always create at least 3 different calls to action in your content: beginning, middle, end, to give them the opportunity and program them to know that they've got to make a decision. But we digress. Back on target here. If you reward the decision and they didn't make the decision, that's okay, because you're affirming that it was a good decision. They're very likely to go back and reconsider that. So this is just part of the reason that familiarity is so very important, and it's the lead variable in the 9 different variables. So this is a little bit of an abstract concept to some, but actually it's straightforward when you start to think about it. Familiarity is in the mind of your prospect, your client, or your customer, and your objective is to create content and experiences that resonate with the familiarity that is in their mind. That familiarity is what? It is what the avatar, your ideal customer, thinks and feels. It is largely emotional. It's likes, it's wants, desires, fears, joys, aspirations. It's all of those things. And to the degree that your content can appeal to multiple variables that reside in the subconscious mind of your prospects, they're going to click on your link. They're going to give you the opportunity to enter their experience funnel and to stay in there long enough to make a difference. And ultimately, that's what you're after, right? You want to stay in there, you want to build a relationship, and then you want them to make a decision in favor of your cause, your product, or your team. So I hope you found this informative, useful, and valuable. And if so, please share on your favorite social media channels, whatever that may be, and stop by DanaScranton.com/familiarity. That's going to take you to the article that gives you more information about what we've just described. So until next time, check out the content that comes your way and see if you can spot those familiarity variables that cause you to trigger a decision.